Good morning from London, where I'm on my way to do the ATW Events Lee Valley Half Marathon as part of their Lee Valley Run Fest this morning. It is, I think, a 2-loop half marathon on a mix of canal towpaths, but pretty good surfaces. Fairly flat, obviously, by the canal, so it should be reasonably quick. This is very much going to be a marathon training run, though, rather than a PB attempt this morning. Did a pretty hard, good run yesterday. Going to go now, do a long warm-up, and then do the event to kind of simulate trying to run fast on tired legs. So hopefully I should be able to hold marathon pace. It's been a few weeks since the Seville Marathon, just starting to build up quite hard for London again, and we'll just see what's in the legs today, really. And I'm doing a whole load of testing. There's a lot of testing today. A lot of products to run through. I start with the shoes, which is the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0 on my feet today. These are one of my top contenders to run with in the London Marathon, so I want to see how they fare today on pretty tired legs and see if I can hold a good marathon pace at least in them. I've really liked them in testing so far, just all the bounciness of the first version, but in a much lighter design, which is great, a bit more aggressive as well for actually racing. Then I've got watches. I've got the Fenix 8 from Garmin, the watch I use in general, against the Coros Vertix 2S. Going to be looking at the GPS accuracy, which should be okay today. Pretty simple course, I think. We're out in the sticks here, so there's no big building coverage or anything like that. And then I'm also going to look at the heart rate accuracy by comparing them to the new Garmin HRM 200 chest strap. Been using that in training lately. I think it's pretty accurate. I'm going to test it more for comfort today than anything, and then look at its results by linking it up to a Coros Pace Pro in my pocket, so the watches on my wrists will just be using their optical heart rate, so I can have a look at the results of that later. Also testing, and you'll have noticed these on my face, the REKS Sling Blade glasses. These are transition prescription glasses, so they are, can use them all the time. They've got a pretty solid, unbreakable frame, big thick lenses, nice option for running, fit's been pretty good for them, so I want to see how they feel during a race. Like I said, the transition lenses, so they'll go from clear to kind of dark, very dark blue. Also got the Suunto Aqua Light headphones I'm going to give a go. They just launched last week. I'm going to use them in their MP3 mode, because obviously they're useful for swimming as well as running. So the MP3 mode is great for races, I find, because you don't need to carry your phone with you. You can listen to a podcast on those in the race, I think. I'll check in quickly after the race and then do a longer debrief and all the stuff I've tested afterwards. Okay, all done there. I think I did just a 1:12, a little bit 1:12:10, something like that. In second place, couldn't live up to my number one, got that to start the race. That was a bit, I don't have a number one in a race before. We ran as a group of 3 first half, did a fast first half basically, trying to see what the state of the legs was. I think we went through the 10k mark in like kind of 33 something, and then second half settled in, running basically marathon pace, goal marathon pace was the idea. Second half, a few slower ones, a bit of grass here on the course, so yeah, it's kind of like mostly tarmac. There's a bit of then a dirt track, and there's a long stretch on kind of grass and dirt for a bit, but it's all dry, so it's all flat, so it's still pretty fast. Then you get a nice fast stretch to finish, at which point the other guy I was running with kicked off and took the win, and I kind of just, I didn't have a kick. Right now I don't have a lot of room above my marathon pace to try and run faster, so yeah, but no, pretty good. That's about the time I'm hoping to go through maybe the first half in London, maybe go for something a bit silly in London, having already PB'd at Seville. So yeah, good run out all round. Stuff I was testing, glasses, which I've just transitioned, they're really good. So I haven't had transition prescription sunglasses like this before. I really like them because I do a lot of running in the forest or on overcast days or when the weather changes here in the UK, so having that change of shading is very nice. They bounce a bit on downhills, these glasses, I find, but they were pretty good otherwise than that. They stayed in place, you didn't have to adjust them too much. Quite a comfortable fit as well, doesn't grip the head too hard. So they're from a company called REKS, which is REKS Sling Blades. Yeah, so probably talk about them a bit more at some point in a monthly roundup, but I've really enjoyed those today. The new Suunto Aqua Light headphones, just solid bone conduction headphones, work very well. The MP3 storage is on there, so I could turn them on during the race, change to the onboard music, navigate to the playlist of the podcast I wanted to listen to. Nice bit of NADPod, Dungeons & Dragons podcast. So listen to that on the way around just to try and keep my head in the game, locked in. And then the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0, just really good. They're a really sprightly shoe. Like I said, started pretty fast today, so we're running pretty quick out the gate, and they feel really nice at that, and then can settle in. They're not quite as cruisy comfortable, and you're starting to just try and hold a pace as the first version, but they are a lot faster, and they are still really comfortable and bouncy. I think, they're going to be a really nice option for the marathon, really good half marathon option, actually, really good race option for any distance now, which I don't think was necessarily the case with the first one, so that's really good. On the watch front, I think the Garmin looks a bit more close to the overall race distance, was ticking over very nicely with the lap markers. We'll have a look at heart rate, but I think both watches seemed fine on heart rates. I'll look at the proper stuff on the DC Rainmaker Analyzer and then talk more about that. But yeah, and all in all, just a really good event here, Lee Valley Run Fest. So the 10k do 1 lap, and then I think the 10k had a slightly shallower field today. The half marathon was quite deep. We had, like I say, 3 of us around the first lap pretty quick, and then yeah, broke off second lap. And then you do second lap of the half marathon with a little out and back section just to get you up to the obviously the full distance. But it's really nice, very beautiful area here, the Lee Valley like regional park with the wetlands, and there's, you know, it's all flat. You know, like I say, there are some bits where you are going to run on a bit of dirt and a bit of grass, but it was dry today, a few sharp turns around bridges, and then a really cool finish at the Whitewater Rafting Centre. So it's a really good event here from ATW Events. You know, it's fast enough that you can run hard, like the guy in first PB'd, I think, and it's also just a really well-timed event for London Marathon training as well, if you do either distance. So yeah, had a very good time all round, and yeah, I'll go look at the rest of the stuff when I'm home and talk about the watches a bit more. So I'm home now, a few hours later after the race. I poured over the data, got my medals here. This is the race one, this one finishing second. So a couple of nice little medals to add to the absurdly large collection at this point. Data on the watches, so have a start there. Looks really good. The heart rate's immaculate. Like, I compared them to the Garmin HRM 200, which has been pretty accurate for me so far in testing. And yeah, the watches are bang in line. Like a little bit of time at the start where it took, I think, the Fenix 8 a little bit longer to get up to the heart rate, you know, the right heart rate. But once it was there, you know, after a couple of minutes, they both stayed pretty much locked in against the heart rate chest strap the whole race. So no concerns there at all. On the HRM 200 itself, I think it's a really solid little, you know, cheaper option in the Garmin range for a heart rate monitor. One of the big things they have with it is this new privacy feature in terms of where your heart rate data gets broadcast to. I think that's something we'll see coming to other Garmin heart rate monitors going forward. I don't really use it yet myself, but otherwise, the only thing about it I would say is it feels like quite a big strap. Like, it's a noticeably quite chunky one with a fairly chunky strap itself, and it is comfortable so far for me. Like, I did probably a total of like about 30k today, 32k, and it felt comfortable the whole time, and I was wearing it before and after, but it's a bit bigger than some of the other Garmin straps, which might be noticeable, a bit bigger than the Polar H10 as well. But yeah, so far accuracy's been on point there, and the watches are very good. GPS is good, so the Garmin ended up closer to the overall race distance, I guess it's fair to say. But if I look at the actual GPS track, it wasn't an easy GPS course at all. Like I said at the start, it probably would be, but we were winding around quite a lot on little trails. There's a lot more kind of little trails than I expected, you know, sharp turns, you know, lots of stuff by water, so the watches are veering into water. I think for the most part, in the back half of the race, where it was the most complicated, the track from the Vertix 2S actually looks a bit better to me. I did realise later on, I think I've put the Garmin in auto select mode rather than fixed it in multi-band mode, so that might be why it wasn't quite as on point in terms of those tracks. But really, both of them are very good on what was quite a twisty course, quite a tricky one to do, some more tree cover than expected, yeah, more narrow stuff. But the Vertix 2S did do some nice sticking to the right path in very tricky areas by water, you know, little sharp turns. Yeah, both pretty good all round, I would say, on the GPS front. Quickly touch again the other things I tested. So the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0 is a really good ratio. I was really impressed by it today. Yesterday I did 10k at 3:30 a k pace as well in the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3, and that was fun, but I basically would not have run that race in that shoe today. Like, it's just a bit too wild, a bit too much, a bit too high. Wouldn't have fared well with any kind of mixed terrain. And the Hoka almost feels like the racy version of that shoe for me. Like, I think some people really love the bounce of the Mizuno and really lean into it and enjoy it, but for me it's just a bit too wild. You've got to hit it in exactly the right point to find it a little tiring to run in over long stretches, even though it is very fast. Cielo, I think, it feels like a more practical race shoe for me, as some with a high turnover. Like, you're still getting loads of bounce, but you are getting, you know, kind of a more dialed in, aggressive feel that doesn't feel like you have to run in a certain way to unlock its, you know, bouncy properties. At the end of the race today, I was struggling a bit, you know, just turning my feet over as much as I could and holding pace. And early on, I was running pretty well, and it felt really good at the whole time. So, do think it's a very good racing shoe. Price is still high. I'd say, like, I wouldn't pick up the Cielo X1 2.0 if you're looking for a new race shoe right now. I think you can get really amazing ones for a lot less, like the Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Adios Pro 4. Both great racing shoes. I like as much, maybe even more, than the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0, especially in the case of the Asics. I do like more. And they're both, you know, a bit cheaper. But yeah, did enjoy running it today. Still considering this for London for sure. Then the other bits and bobs. So these are the REKS Sling Blade glasses. I talked about them obviously there. They are prescription glasses. They have an unbreakable frame. You can really mess around with if you want to. I don't have the guts to mess around with things like that, but there are videos of people really stretching them and all that. And then, you know, like I say, quite thick lenses that you can, you know, take a bit of a pounding. They're transition lenses, like I say. They don't have quite as good a fit as I've been wearing some Zenni Optical Zunnies lately that are also prescription sunglasses I wore for the Seville Marathon. I think they have a slightly closer fit and a less bouncy fit than these, but they were fine. So I didn't have to adjust them really throughout the run. You have got those transition lenses, which is great, and they're pretty good price. So even with transition prescription lenses, they come in at the moment, I think £178 on the website. So it's a lot less than you're paying for the Oakleys of the world and that kind of thing, and you are getting a really good pair of sunglasses here. And obviously if you're not using prescription, then they're really cheap, and then you are getting this very sturdy frame that will take a bit of a beating, more than I'm prepared to do to it. So yeah, I'm going to use those a lot going forward. Transition lenses are really helpful, I think, on the run, especially in the UK when you're not stepping out into bright sunlight the whole time. So really enjoyed those today. And then the Suunto Aqua Light. I've also started testing the Suunto Aqua headphones. I'm going to have to get in the pool to test them thoroughly, which I don't like doing. I don't like swimming, but which is why we did a running channel. But in terms of the running performance, like, you're getting here what you get from the Shocks open swim headphones, which is you get that MP3 storage, but you also have Bluetooth playback. So these headphones are very useful for runners, I think, because in normal runs, if you are carrying your phone, you can just link up the Bluetooth, and then when it comes to race day, when I don't want to carry my phone with me like I didn't today, you just load up your playlist on here. So you can basically divide things into playlists using the Suunto app itself to manage things, which is quite a good way of doing it. I've got a podcast on it just for today, just one podcast, listen to that. I listened to music on them the other day as well. The sound quality obviously takes a dip with bone conduction, but it's okay, and I really like that dual Bluetooth MP3 functionality. They're not dissimilar to the Aqua so far in my testing. I'm going to go into the differences a bit more, we finally get around to testing them both properly, but yeah, they're another solid option on the bone conduction market if you want to look at a brand other than Shocks. Suunto delivering similar level of quality here, and you've got that dual Bluetooth MP3 playback, which I do find useful. So yeah, enjoyed those today as well. So yeah, everything was pretty good. Like, it's a pretty solid run out for me as well. So over the course of the weekend, I've done 30k now at 31k, half marathon, and 10k yesterday at marathon pace or faster. The first half of the race was faster today, so good way to get some fast miles back in the legs, using it for a race today when I was, I wouldn't have wanted to go and do 20k by myself at marathon pace. So, and yeah, pushed as hard as I could. Good test of the legs, good test of the fitness right now, and a nice, good session with a little run beforehand this morning. So really enjoyed it, and just was really lucky to have someone to run with today as well. He went on and took the win, and it was great to be able to share the first 10 and a half miles with them at least, and then they ran away, but at that point I was able to get home. So yeah, a fun day out. It's a really good event. Be prepared to run a little bit on grass and stuff like that if you're going to do it, but it is a flat event. I think it's a nice option for the spring for sure, to test your marathon fitness and that kind of thing without necessarily having a very clear A goal in mind. But you can PB there. The guy who won did PB, I think, so there is that potential there, but it's also just a nice course. It's a very beautiful area, I think, of the south, the Lee Valley Regional Park. So yeah, very enjoyable day all round, and some good testing done.